Morning. This is Doug Ferguson, aka Bearded Chef, aka Bearded Minister, aka Beard for Mental Health, aka Finding Joy in the Suffering. I'm here to talk to you about something that I feel is very important, something I've been studying, something I have definitely been praying about, and something I think with the current Iran war is very important. And that is threat levels to Canadian society and threat levels from the coasts moving inland. Those threat levels, and they're here, have been for a long time, are the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, IRGC, as we're hearing about with the Iran war, the Iran Republican Guard Corps, Hezbollah, Sinaloa Cartel, CJ&G, the Jalisco Cartel, that we're hearing a lot about with El Mencho just getting assassinated, or however you want to choose to take that, I guess. And with the sweeping of Maduro, El Chapo last year before, and there is a swath of cartel leaders that were picked up and are currently being tried in the United States. Now, we in Canada, we have had the Ryan wedding ordeal. And the Ryan wedding ordeal, for example, contains several actors. He is known to have a place on Margarita Island, just off the coast of Venezuela. This island, Margarita Island, has Hezbollah contacts, cartel contacts, strongholds, and multiple state actors and proxies from across the world, criminal organizations, operate straight from this island. In Canada, I live in Saskatchewan, where it's relatively safe right now. We have local gangs, street gangs, indigenous, and some transcontinental VHA. However, what we're noticing is a increasing presence of triads, likely related to the CCP, and we're also seeing an increase in South Asian crime, and that's kind of playing itself in extortion. Right now, similar to what it's done in lower mainland BC, where the extortion by South Asian gangs is coming from South Asia, from India, for example. Somebody has a store here, they make the store owner pay them money, or they hurt their family back in India. That's kind of the level of extortion that's happening here, and that is in Saskatchewan, as in the recent vape shop or cannabis shop or whatever it was guy that had his shops vandalized and threats thrown towards him. And that is kind of the biggest example so far in Saskatchewan, or at least the biggest public example. The shit's real, man. This shit is real. And I like rabbit holes. I love crime. I've always been, what's the right word? Fantasized the mafias, for example. Lucky Luciano, one of my heroes, I guess, for a time. Al Capone. You know, these guys is like they evaded the law and they went down in a blaze of glory, and I want that. I still want that out of my life. I'll go down in a blaze of glory, and I got to be careful that it's God's will, not mine. Anyway, so right now we have had in Saskatchewan, of course, we have the Hells Angels, we have their puppet clubs, and we have a large amount of indigenous gangs, Native Syndicate, Terror Squad, TSK, Indian posse, blah, blah, blah. Okay? There's 100, I believe, 200, something like that, different organized crime groups operating in Saskatchewan. The biggest, of course, being biggest public one being, of course, the Hells Angels. I will say right now that I will take the status quo over what is coming, because I'm telling you, and this is not just Doug talking. You can see this anywhere. You look it up on the internet. You look it up, like the kids used to say to me, I'll just Google it. You know what? Google it then. But I'm here telling you that it's getting worse, and it's going to get much, much worse. As in, i.e., the corruption in Mexico, the corruption in the southern states is already here. Canada, RCMP, CSIS, and governmental levels are already compromised. 1% of goods coming into Vancouver Port, the only Canadian deep water port on the west side, only 1% of goods get checked. 1%. Slightly north into the Prince Rupert Port, another large port, or that might be the deep water port, and Vancouver's the other, I don't remember. Either way, between the two ports, 1% of goods is getting checked, and the Prince Rupert Port isn't even owned by Canada. Canada does not own one of the three largest ports that on the continent. It's owned, check this, by a company in Dubai, in the Middle East. So, another thing regarding Prince Rupert, the RCMP no longer have a federal outpost there. So they're not involved in checking anything coming through the Prince Rupert Port. And so what's happening now is the cartels are using the Canadian Rockies. Okay, take that Super Lab busted by Kelowna as an example. Okay, there are so many actors, but check this with Canadian law enforcement arrested one person. There is enough methamphetamine in that entire lab to kill all of Canada twice. And that's only one that has been caught. Okay, so the cartels are coming into Canada because of our lackadaisical immigration laws and what Trudeau has done, and our really super shady criminal, they just get away with everything. You can get, you fucking murder, excuse my language, you fucking murder, and you're on the street in 6 years. So these cartels and IRGC, and they don't care. They plug and play. You take one off the street, they plug another one in. It's just, here we don't have that. And so they're using the Canadian Rockies. Back to the Canadian ports, the Canadian Rockies, the Mexican, Iranian, Chinese, all of these people are coming in and using places where we simply don't have the ability to pay attention to this, to watch this, to chase this down. The RCMP doesn't have the budget, doesn't have the funds to do this. So again, we're fucked. Okay, so the cartels are coming in. They are using our Rockies, and they are getting their precursors, the things to make these methamphetamines. They're getting these coming into these ports where nothing is checked. And even if 1% is checked, 99% is getting through, so they don't care. They just put that in their loss. That's in the losses. That's like the money they pay the dock operators, like it just goes into that. It's no big deal. It's just part of it. No big deal. 99%, billions of dollars. They say in the last 10 years, trillions of illegal money and illegal drugs have come through the western ports. Never mind Montreal, which the Rizzutos and the Irish mob control. And the Hells Angels have an play in there, and and now this what do they call this new one that plays all across Canada? Shit. I was just talking about them. There's a new group that has Hells Angels, Chinese, and it's a group of different state actors all working together. I don't know why I can't think of it. I was just talking about them. And all these state actors, and so they have a group of the top criminal guys have their own group in Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. And they're playing over top of everything, and so they're getting all of these Indian, Chinese, mostly Indian, South Asian, we'll say. South Asian drivers, as we're seeing, this is not news to anybody in Saskatchewan, to drive the contraband back and forth because, again, they plug and play. One person gets caught, somebody else gets hit. For example, let's use this, and I'm not saying these are contraband related, but Saskatoon bridges have been hit 4 times in the last year. Never hasn't happened in 30 years. That's because they plug and play people and they just get them a license and it's not a real license and it's just a piece of paper and away they go. They're integrated, so integrated into Canada now, and that's what I mean by it moving inward into middle Canada. And too many people, my own brother, sorry not to call you out, but I love you, but too many people just don't care. They don't care because they believe that it doesn't affect them. Well, the cartel doesn't want me, they're not going to do this to me, they're not going to do that. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, yes, the cartels are going to come in, they're going to create poverty, they're going to bring more meth, which is actually, I guess, fentanyl now, not meth. Meth is passé, now it's fentanyl. And fentanyl, again, kills. And we, in Saskatchewan, too many people sitting there doing nothing. Saying, it's not my problem, it doesn't affect me, but you know what, it does. It affects your relatives, it affects people you know, it affects people you see on the street. So it affects us all. And a day is coming, which you'll hear me speak about a lot. A day is coming where we're going to have to either stand up or we're going to get run over. Now, I and most of my friends are not the type of people to get run over. I didn't survive to this age to get run over by some fucking cartel. Fuck them. I am about preparing, raising awareness, teaching, sharing, growing some sort of public awareness, but also defense. I would love, this is my dream, this is kind of one of my pipe dreams right now. I'd love to see the Saskatchewan Hells Angels, which are probably our largest public criminal organization that we see in Saskatchewan. And I know that they work with Indigenous gangs. I would love to see them gather our Indigenous gangs, work together, and create some sort of militia to protect our land. Now, the native thing right now, one of the native things is protect our land, look after our land, but the truth is that these cartels and CCP and whatnot, they're abusing our natives, our First Nations peoples, our Indigenous peoples, and abusing their lands by bringing them labor and money and these grow-ups and whatnot on native lands where they're not taxed and they're not, the RCMP just can't walk in. And so if you see, and this is across Canada, and you can see them this is lots in Ontario, just north of the Great Lakes, and in Alberta where there's a basic highway right from Edmonton to a cartel run highway from Edmonton to Mexico. Underground highway. Partly run by the Mennonites. True story. Yeah. Cartels and Mennonites. Yeah. Yeah. Drugs and guns. Yeah. For real shit, man. And this is coming to Saskatchewan. What are we going to do about it? What do you want to do about it? What can we do about it? What are we able to do about it? Because I'm telling you right now, the RCMP are not going to do anything about it. They are not going to be ready. They do not have the money. They do not have the people. And unfortunately, the people don't have the belief in this enough to give them the money to be prepared. You see where I'm going? We have to tell people that it's going to get bad. We have to be aware of our surroundings and things going on. I see a friend of mine who may or may not be watching, but was at one point, and I know that she spent a ton of time in Taiwan and probably has a lot of insight into the CCP, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation with her about this coming up. Protect your land. Don't buy, okay, so people in the city, here's an example. Don't buy your land in the city because you're going to lose it. The land in the city is all going to get taken over and destroyed in one day. But, me and my friends, for example, let's use this as an example, and you and your friends should do this too. Get together. Make a plan. For when that day is coming, I'll use the movie Red Dawn. When what's his name? Patrick Swayze gathers everybody and they head to the woods. Do it. Make that plan. Get your bug out bag ready. I have mine ready. But I have had that for years. That's not a new thing for me. I've had a bug out bag for decades. I live my life prepared. Something I want to touch on here is I want to touch on cherry picking. I was watching a documentary about jihadists, for example, how jihadists use a verse in the Quran, chapter 9, verse 5, which basically says, kill all infidels. Okay? But this guy who was de-radicalized had went to this different teacher, Muslim teacher, and this Muslim teacher told him, okay, did you read the first 4? And so the point of that is, there's so much more to the story. Don't let anybody cherry pick scripture, cherry pick verses from the Quran, or cherry pick shit on social media, because that happens. People screenshot this and they screenshot that and they start fucking fights and arguments over a screenshot, which isn't the whole fucking story. And that's kind of the problem that we're having here, is Western media is being told what to say, and they're not talking about the real shit. They're not talking about the problems. They're not talking about what's coming. They're not talking about what is happening. You don't hear shit about the Toronto 18, and that was 20 years ago. But that is having an effect on what is happening today. I remember when I ran my restaurant, I hired lots of immigrants, and I used to say that I don't have a problem with all of the immigrants coming into Canada. What I had, and still have, a problem with is how it's done, because they're not properly being vetted. And now we have Canada full of hundreds of thousands of criminals that are here in hiding because China and all these different actors across Canada have sent them here because we let them in. And now we're talking back to the Iran war. Vancouver has, don't get me wrong, LA has the largest Iranian diaspora. But since 2003 in the Iraq war, Vancouver has the largest Iranian diaspora. And we have had tens of thousands have come since this whole thing happened October 7th in Israel. Pay attention, man. This is no fucking joke. It is going to get worse before it gets better. A day is coming, similarly like that fucking movie That's Red Dawn. And it very well might be the Chinese landing on the western shore, coming through the port of Vancouver and Prince Rupert instead of LA. Because it's easier to get into the US coming through Canada than its 3 other borders. There's so much focus going on with ICE and everything with planes, trains, and automobiles and ships in America and the Mexico border that they're just not paying enough attention to the northern border, very, very porous border. For example, back to what I said earlier, the Great Lakes. The CJNG, New Jalisco Cartel, has set up a boat corridor on the Great Lakes that basically you can't catch them. What are we going to do? Be ready. Get ready. Stand your ground. Make other people aware that the cartels are coming inland, and they're using the native gangs, and we need to talk to our indigenous people to rise up against them and not work with them. Don't let them. Don't let this happen. They will abuse you and use you and throw you out, just like we're seeing in Dawson Creek and northern BC, northern Alberta, northern BC, northern Manitoba, Cross Lake. Tyrone Bird was just up in Cross Lake. Maybe talk to him about some of what he saw. He probably can tell you some more about the reality of the situation. And Quebec, of course. Quebec is really bad because there's such a fight to be separate, to be their own thing. And so cartels, I mean, these are white-collar people. They're not dumb. Okay, these aren't people in the fucking jungles with guns making cocaine. The top levels of cartels are businessmen. They're smart. They know where to go and where not to go. And right now, Quebec is such a hotbed that it's easy to get into Quebec. Ontario's so fucking big, they're not paying attention. And on the West Coast, they have so much control, it doesn't matter. I live in Saskatchewan. I would like to see us protect our land. Peace out. Love ya. See you soon.